This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of GSP Resource Corp, Mr. Simon Dyakowski. Simon, it has been a bit. We are overdue for a catch-up, sir. How are you today?
Well, I am great. Thanks for having me on. Good to reconnect here on GSPR on the TSX Venture. It's a story that I'm really excited about, and we're looking to introduce to a broader audience.
No, let's get right into why you're excited about it and why I'm happy to start telling the story at this stage. It's a there's assets in the portfolio that you've been working to acquire for years on end, and you're finally there, and we're hitting record high copper prices with the announcement of the tariffs today. We're near record high gold prices, silver starting to break out. So it's the perfect storm to have a basket of assets that have copper and gold and silver and that are in top-notch jurisdictions, with neighbors that are also producing and or will be producing and looking to advance, a project and permitting that they've been working for decades to for over a decade to advance, right? All of those boxes happened almost at the same time, and yet you sit here with a tiny, I think it's like a $4.5 million market cap or something along those lines. So I love being able to introduce stories to our audience really early on, especially given the backdrop in the commodity space.
Yeah, no, and thanks for that intro. And I can just touch on a little bit of how this all came together and why it's taken so long. But we are focused on copper, silver, and gold. And we're in southwestern British Columbia. And no doubt a lot of your audience is familiar with British Columbia as a mining jurisdiction, but BC is a very large province. And even as a jurisdiction, it's not an equal, I'd say, risk profile.
Right.
And what I mean by that is there are some areas that are a little bit more remote, that are a little bit more ecologically sensitive, more just more remote, a little bit more of a sensitivity around First Nations, things like that.
Sure.
We are in an area though that is known as British Columbia's industrial heartland. Think of the Texas of BC, if you will,
Yeah.
and that's around the city of Kamloops. And our property is very well located at a high altitude, but at a dry altitude. So I say that because in the Golden Triangle of BC, there are some fantastic gold projects there, but they have a very limited work season because of the high amount of precipitation that they receive, sometimes 20, 30, 40, 50 feet of snow, and they just have to wait for the snow to
Yeah.
melt. We're pretty high up, also 5,000 feet, but we're on a plateau in the interior. It's arid. You never get more than a foot or two of snow, and it can be worked for a much longer season than other areas of BC. And I think most important about our property is it is sitting as an enclave within Teck Resources Highland Valley copper operation, which is the largest open pit copper mine in Canada, and recently received a 20-year mine life extension permit, which took them about 10 years to get. And the reason that
Yeah.
we actually got involved in our property, the Alwyn mine, back 5-6 years ago, is because we actually assumed at the time that they were on the cusp, Teck rather was on the cusp of getting their permit, and it would likely create a little bit more interest in nearby deposits. And it took a little while than I think everybody expected, but now with the
Imagine that in the mining
yeah,
space, Simon, something taking a little bit longer than we expect.
I know, to be expected, of course, but with all the goings on around the world geopolitically, and even today, with a tariff, I believe, on copper coming out of the U.S., the timing is it's good for us, right? We're seeing copper break out over $5 on the futures. Gold, silver are now well on their way, and our deposit, which has had a second look taken at it over the past 5 years as we've been acquiring it, looks, I think, a lot more attractive, and we're looking forward to a busy rest of 2025 on a number of exploration fronts where we think we can really add value and a new dimension to the Alwyn mine that, potentially makes it an attractive piece of the puzzle in the broader scheme of Highland Valley, which is the biggest copper camp in BC.
Let's talk about how you add value from this tiny, minuscule $4 or $5 million market cap that the market is granting you right now, because there's significant catalysts. And we're not talking about, just to be absolutely clear, greenfields exploration where we're hoping for a discovery or discoveries. You have those already, right? And then so really it's like you said, taking a second look at what was discovered prior to, re-assaying some of that core to include copper, silver, and gold, and then also obviously delineating new drill targets to expand on those historic resources that already exist, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the Alwyn mine is a past producing high grade underground copper mine. It was producing on and off in the early 70s and early 80s, and it's really has not seen a lot of work since 1981, 82 until we got involved. What we've done is systematically gone through the historic drill hole data set, which is over 50,000 meters, and we've actually now determined that it can possibly be open pit mined as opposed to underground mined, which
Hmm.
increases the potential tonnage very significantly,
Right.
especially given that it's in an area that's surrounded within 5 kilometers of five currently producing and past producing open pits.
Yep.
And then I think what's most significant in our data discovery and our modeling over the past couple of years is that when the deposit was discovered in the 1960s, gold and silver were not in play in the mining industry. Silver was maybe $1 per ounce and gold was 20 or $30. So they didn't even bother assaying for gold or
Hmm.
silver unless it was, massive, massive sort of quartz veining that you obviously had to have a look at. And so we discovered that out of our database of over 3,000 samples, there were only about 30 historically that were sampled for gold and silver. So we've gone in with a little bit of preliminary drilling on our own volition, and we have discovered significant grades of gold and silver over meaningful widths. And I could just list off a couple here, but last year we hit 7 meters of 5 grams of gold paired with 1% copper. And so what we believe is that the entire deposit could be with a significant gold silver credit. So we are designing a plan now to go in and efficiently confirm that. We think it could very meaningfully increase the copper equivalent tonnage. Um, and that's something that we're looking to do over the autumn timeframe here. But in the interim, we do believe, just given our proximity to Highland Valley's operation and also their exploration targets, which they're recently permitted to grow into with production, we are right along strike with some very compelling porphyry or long widths of lower grade mineralization, but very consistently mineralized. Those are just a few hundred meters off our eastern
Right.
property line. So we announced in early July, just last week, that we've commenced not a very deep, but a deeper sensing geophysics survey, and we're awaiting the results of that right now as we speak. And we're hopeful that the results of that survey might uncover, what could be a much bigger uh, a porphyry style target, potentially one that drove the high grade mineralization that we've been drilling near surface. It's very exciting. We hope to get that news out to the market over the next 1 to 2 weeks is the goal, and that will really drive our exploration efforts over August, September, and October.
No, look, the timing is perfect. I want to touch on the team because there's some names that I'm very familiar with. Yourself, obviously, Jordan Trimble, I'm extremely familiar with, and then you have a technical advisor that I'm also very familiar with Christopher Rafflo. And so I would love for you to just speak on the team because I think the skill set and a lot of the local experience, especially on the technical side, is going to be very important and critical for you all.
Yeah, we really want to have a well-rounded team, and obviously, in our view, in the junior space, that has to include technical prowess, legal, financial and marketing. And so on our team, we have Chris Raffles, our lead consultant. And we went with Chris and his group really because they have an expertise in modeling and taking second looks at historic deposits, making sense of them, and then guiding a value add path to move them forward. And they've done an exceptional job with the Alwood mine. Super efficient. We got bids from a whole bunch of groups, and Chris has really been invaluable here. So he's a key part of the team. You mentioned Jordan's involved, one of the better capital raisers in Vancouver. We have actually an old colleague of mine from Salmon Partners, Rodney Stevens. He was a award-winning analyst back when Salmon Partners was in its heyday back in 2000, around 10 year. We worked together. So he's involved, deep ties into the industry. So we're very happy with the team, and it's really we're firing on all cylinders now with the recently completed 100% acquisition of the project. So no more payments. We simplified the royalty structure, and the modeling and recent drill program has given us a roadmap to sort of pick off that low-hanging fruit, which would be to greatly increase the open pit resource through a bit of reassaying, reanalyzing, and also now an opportunity to take a look at some larger, more greenfields targets in a brownfield setting, let's say.
Tell me about the capital structure, because I know that management and insiders own, have significant skin in the game, and I always look for that, right? Share structure is one of the more key elements of me looking at a company and deciding, yeah, this is a story that we can help tell, and yours is structured very well.
Yeah, so there's 46 million shares outstanding right now, and we have about $500,000 in working capital. And we have about 26% of those shares held by insiders. So our largest shareholder is actually the vendor of the property. People might know him from a company called GT Gold. And so he actually staked what is the Tatoga project, which GT Gold made a discovery on and sold to Gold Corp, now Newmont, for around $500 million. So he's a very long-term investor. He's participated in a number of our financings, and he's even been willing to sort of lock up his shares as an insider. So yeah, 1 out of every 4 shares is with insiders. We haven't done any cheap rounds below 10 cents. And we think that there is good leverage to re-rate here. We've been a bit of a laggard, I think, in the bull market of the last few months, but that has been a function of getting the work underway. I mentioned that we have this geophysical survey underway. We wanted to make sure we went with the right group that had the expertise in the Highland Valley. So the group that's looking after that is based out of Coquitlam. They have done a number of surveys in that geologic formation. They work for some of the other porphyry copper explorers around. So we just kind of wanted to wait until they were available rather than rushing with somebody that didn't have that experience. So our patience, I think, will be rewarded over the coming weeks and months as we move forward with that new information.
No, look, you've done things the right way. I'm looking forward to the geophysical survey results. I'm looking forward to seeing, what that second look on that core and those samples that you have yields for you all. And again, the fact that you have a tiny market cap and a lot of runway, I think is just an excellent time for you to come on. So thank you so much for your time, Simon.
Gerardo, thanks very much. It was great to speak with you again.
Let's do it again soon once those results start trickling in.
Sounds good.
All right, cheers now. Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.